Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert. Welcome back to the TED Show. Oh, you guys know how much I love our musical guest, and today we have the talented AM Sokoll on the show. What's up, AM? How you doing today?
Good morning, Ted. How are you doing?
Good morning / afternoon. I don't know where you are, but I am afternoon, but I could have gone with morning. I love the title of the show, Big Swings. You're going to talk about that. We're going to learn about your music and your journey, and then you're going to do us the honor of performing a song as we head out.
Absolutely.
So thank you for coming on the show. Tell us a little bit about you. Before we went live, we talked about how the audience is super big on origin story. They got to know your journey. So tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, so I'm originally from the suburbs of Detroit, and music is something that's always been very important to me personally, but I didn't really start seriously pursuing it until after I moved to Seattle, which is where I'm currently based. I moved here about 5 years ago, and I decided that with that big of a change, it was time to really start pursuing the things that I've kind of always wanted. And so on my 23rd birthday, I started taking piano lessons, and that has just kind of like transformed into, who you're speaking with today. Somebody who has really been spending the last half decade worth of time just really perfecting their craft and really wanting to, be as good as they can be.
So did you have a dream to be a performer early on and then just went a different path for a while, or was performing and entertaining and songwriting and singing all part of the overall dream always?
It was always part of the dream, but there was definitely some periods where the self-doubt came in, and that sort of imposter syndrome of like, you aren't qualified to be doing any of this. Like, what are you doing? Like, that really took its toll in my adolescent and teenage years, and also in college. But then in college is when the bug was really starting to kind of get back to me. And I really thought once I got out of college, it's like, okay, I need something to balance 9-to-5 life anyway. So why not have it be the thing that I've always been passionate about? So it's always been there, but the seriousness of pursuing it has kind of been off and on.
So talk about your process. Have you always been, even along the way before it became your full-time focus, have you always been writing songs, or did that begin when you learned how to play piano at the age of 23?
I've always been very big into writing, not necessarily writing songs, but just writing not only as a means of like self-expression in terms of art, but just like coping, self-reflecting, like that kind of thing. And as part of my day job, I do a lot of writing, which is something that I very much enjoy. But it definitely really revealed just simply how being a good writer doesn't necessarily mean you're a good songwriter. Like I had to learn that really early on, and I decided like to just like really focus in on songwriting specifically. And yeah, the whole thing of like starting to write songs really began with the learning of music at the same time and learning about piano at the same time.
So what happened with you? I ask every artist that comes on here, what happened with you during 2020? It was such a challenge for any artists that were performing. All performances got cut. There was no meetings anymore. There was no collaboration you could do in person. What did you do to shift and pivot so you could continue to hone your craft and continue to keep your name out there?
So for me, 2020 was really interesting because I didn't necessarily have a great deal of momentum with my artistry going into 2020. I've only had played a handful of live performances that weren't open mics. And so for me, it was just not necessarily that much lost in comparison to those who this is their livelihood and this is their job and how they sustain themselves. So essentially what I did was I really started honing back in on the songwriting side, but also the musical production side of things. And so throughout 2020, what I had done was work on and release my EP, which was the first project that I actually released. And that was back in October. And then I don't know what happened, but like a couple weeks later, I just felt this urge to just jump back in. Like I didn't really give myself any kind of break, because even still in October, like we were in the thick of the pandemic still, like and going through those spikes. So nothing was open, like nothing had changed. And so I was like, okay, what do we do from here and I just jumped in and immediately started working on another project. So, which is something that I will probably mention more than once while we're online today.
Mention it. Tell us.
Yeah. So I made the announcement yesterday, but I am releasing my first full-length LP, my first actual album, and that comes out Wednesday, August 25th. What I'm going to do is I am going to put in the comments maybe in the private chat for now.
Oh yeah, you should be able to put it in comments, but I'll take it from private chat.
Okay, cool.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
I got you.
That is the link. There is the link that people can follow, and also it's pinned to all of like my social media stuff, which is just at amsokoll music. But yeah, the album is 10 tracks. It runs about a little less than 45 minutes, and it's really reflective of a lot of what I was experiencing throughout 2020. And the hope is that it relates to other people's experiences too. But, you know, at the very least, like, I feel really good about the fact that I had gone through like this really intense creative period throughout 2020 and the beginning of 2021. And now with things opening up again, it allows me the opportunity to, you know, do things like this and talk about it, be able to play live again. And it just is a really nice transition. So I would say that in terms of 2020, it definitely impacted me in some regard, but I'm very happy about the fact of what I was able to do with that time.
So 2021's big. I did post Wings on the Way Down is what I see. I shared that in the comments, so you all can click on that link and follow it and see what it is AM is specifically talking about. I'm very excited for you. August 2nd, you said, or August 1st?
25th.
25th. So tell us about your plans for 2021. Obviously, you're doing this in August. Are you planning, because I'm in Orlando, so it's a little different. I don't know where Seattle's at on the are we open, are we not scenario. You know, Florida's been open pretty much the entire time. Seattle, I have a feeling, is a little different. Are you able to get out and perform? Can people see you? Are you getting out more? What's going on for 2021?
We're able to more so now. It's actually quite the interesting timing because the county that we are in, because we hit 70% of those who can get vaccinated are vaccinated. We are now eliminating the mask mandate, and the full state reopening is actually supposed to be either today or tomorrow. I don't know when it technically kicks into effect, but with that, everything will be open season again. And the big thing for me, I think, is, of course, playing live for musicians is, I think, like a really high mark and a high goal. But honestly, I really want to make more in-person connections. Like, pardon me, like that's like a really big thing for me because I admittedly was not. I'm going to take a quick drink of water.
No, you're good, man. I'm making you do all the talking, so you
But yeah, I admittedly was not super great about making in-person connections before the pandemic, mainly because I was really focused on spending the time that I could have been connecting with trying to hone the craft a little bit more. And coming out of the pandemic, I'm realizing now that there are just so many people in the Seattle music scene that I admire, but I haven't had a chance to meet with, interact with, learn from. So that'll be a really big thing for me. And then if I am able to start performing live, like later in the fall and the winter, that's great. But, you know, even just going to live shows again and being able to meet folks that I've been admiring on social media all this time, it's just, I think, a really good starting point for being able to build longevity in terms of, you know, being able to be a performer out here.
I love it. All right. So tell us about Big Swings.
Yes. So
first of all, I love that. There's so many ways you could go with that. Big swings in life, big swings in the pandemic, big swings in music. Tell us what that's all about.
I mean, talk about all of the above when you mentioned those three things. But yeah, the Big Swings is really it's a formative phrase for me because I view big swings as like there is no reason for you to not take the craziest vision that you could possibly have and at least give it a shot. And Big Swings is not something that's just, for me, big in the way that I approach what it is that I want to do, but what it is that or how it is that I choose to do it. I'm somebody who I try my very best to stay true to myself. And for me, what that means is, you know, being very comfortable with trying new things and exploring and experimenting. And, you know, if it works, great. And if it doesn't, like the reward is much greater than the risk. And I think that's what something that a lot of people, when they think of big swings, don't think of it that way. Like they're thinking more of maybe the more negative side. But for me, I've adopted big swings as like, if I'm on the fence about doing something that it may be like a pretty big move, I'm like, you know what? Big swings. Let's do it. Like there are no home runs without big swings, you know?
I actually, it's funny because I had to, once I saw the title, I thought, all right, I haven't had somebody who does swing music for a very long time. And then I usually don't do too much of a deep dive, but I looked, I'm like, oh no, this is actually a good topic. I feel like all of us in the last year plus have experienced big swings on so many levels, personally, professionally, the world, shopping. I mean, everything has been in a big pendulum kind of swing. So once I realized that that's what you were talking about, I thought, God, that could not be any more timely. I feel like all of us are experiencing that and continue to experience that at different levels. Like I said, Florida has been open for a while. But you all have not. And so it's very interesting to me how that title, I think, is so appropriate and so awesome.
Well, that whole point about the proactive and the reactive, too, is crucial. Like, it's not simply the big swings you take, but the big swings that are taken at you. And like,
I like that too. That's good.
Yeah. Like, how do you respond? How do you react to that? Like and that is really where you get into the more widespread applicability of it, because the pandemic impacted everybody. And so what do you do?
What do you do? All right. So tell us what you're going to perform for us. This is my favorite. Not that I don't love talking to you, but I just love, because you get to know an artist, and then when they perform, it's a different relationship. It's a different perspective. So I'm going to take myself off. You tell us a little bit about the song that you're going to perform, and then let's do it.
Awesome. So the song I'm going to be performing today is Hourglass. It is the most recent release that I have. It's a single that I released back in April. It is what I would consider to be a prominent centerpiece of the album that I am releasing in August. And as Ted mentioned earlier, Wings on the Way Down is the name of it, and it is available August 25th. So I am going to do a quick pivot to a different camera, moving the microphone.
Please pivot.
Yeah.
You take your time. I think what's awesome, so I was telling AM when he got on here, it's so nice for future performers to have somebody who is ready. So he tested his mic, he tested if he could hear, he tested how it looked. So just a recommendation to all of you performers that come on, please do a little bit of practice, or at least make sure that you are ready to go when the camera goes live. All right, my friend, I'm going to take myself off, and we're gonna have you perform. And tell us a little bit about Wings on the Way Down.
So let me actually, sorry, I'm just going to do.
Take your time. Take your time.
Here, okay. So Wings on the Way Down is the name of it because it is inspired by a very real experience in which I thought that I was very close to the brink of like true self-implosion. And it was this feeling of when the tides shifted, that it was really very, very close to, you know, hitting rock bottom. But as I said, the tide shifted, Wings on the Way Down is like this sprouting of that salvation that carries you back up. And that was something that I thought was just a really powerful visual of like thinking that you are meeting your doom, and then as soon as things change, you just find yourself rising back up again. So
love it.
Yeah, right. So that's a big thing for me. Really quick, I just want to confirm.
Take your time.
Does that sound good to you?
Sounds great. I'm telling you, your vocal, your whole sound sounds awesome.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. All the wonders of like a $60 mixer, you know?
I love it.
Okay. So this is Hourglass. I hope everybody here enjoys it.
Wonderful.
me take that again. The drill, spin the hourglass, and ask yourself, am I a different me? You know the skill, spin the hourglass, lie and say you do things differently. The test, spin the hourglass, and sell yourself to the mirror. You know the rest, spin the hourglass. Couldn't close and nothing's clearer. Truth, spinning the hourglass, only remind you of your fear of time. You know the truth, spinning the hourglass. There's less to reason and more to rhyme. Wasting the days, watching every grain, recounting all the things you can't undo. And they fester, and they pester, and they gesture, they are you. But in the end, if you continue over and through the shards at your feet, and the scenes you leave in the rear view will stay in the back seat.
still there? Good. Oh my God. All right. So I have lots of comments. Beautiful. Good comments, of course. First of all, you have a very great sounding voice.
Thank you.
I liked it when you hit the more powerful notes. I love that. I also loved, I didn't expect so much music, meaning the piano or the keyboard part, and I really enjoyed that a lot.
Awesome. Thank you.
And so I was trying to envision you performing that, and I thought, well, that's perfect for performance. When you sing it, what do you think of? What's the feeling that comes out when you sing that song?
So I will say, and this is not to like toot my own horn because I hate doing that, and I don't like the thought of like hitting an apex this early in my artistry, but I feel that because of how reflective it is of really my experience of just trying to become a better person and like learning a lot about myself, and the pandemic was a really big catalyst for that, it is potentially going to end up being like one of the, at least to me, one of the best songs that I've ever written. Like, I think that because of, and that's not just simply what it means to me either. I think a lot of people can relate to, you know, living with the decisions that in that moment you really don't like what it meant if you look at it in a vacuum, but then you look at that moment and how it got you to where you are now. And if you're in a really good spot, you just kind of need to accept that you got from A to B, and how do you cope with that? And I think that whole thing of being okay with regret and letting it go is something that we all really deal with. And so that's why for me, I feel like this immense like weight lifting every single time that I play it, because it just makes me think of all of the times that I wish I could take some of those moments back, but like being okay with the fact that I can't change them and just got to move forward.
I love it. All right. Beautiful. All right. Tell them how they can find your music, download it, support our artists like Sokoll. Tell us.
So as stated earlier, you know, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram. All of that is at amsokoll music. I'm actually going to, still can't put it in the comments. I'm just going to go ahead and at least put it in the chat so that people have it. And I'll of course share it as well. But yeah, I'm on Spotify, I'm on Apple Music, I'm on Amazon Music, I'm on SoundCloud, I'm on Tidal, like I'm on Bandcamp. Like if you, whatever your preferred method of streaming is, I am 99.9% sure that I am on it. So I am pretty much everywhere. And yeah, follow me throughout this whole progression of the next couple of months in the album rollout and the album release. And if you are watching this from Seattle, hit me up, say what's up, and potentially we could do something. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's how people can find me.
Fantastic. All right, you were awesome. Loved it. Big swings. That was Hourglass that he performed. Their link is already in there where you can reach him, and the album release is August. Do we still say album? The album release is August 25th. You guys reach out, support our creatives like AM. It's so important. It's a crazy world we live in, and we need this kind of music and these kind of creatives to continue. Thank you for being professional, on time, having it all together. I can't tell you how far that goes, and you know the audience pays attention. So thank you so much for being on the show, my friend. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Ted. This was great.
Anytime. All right, you guys get out and find AM.